So, Patchouli in Allusions 2 is very different from every other style. She has 16 moves with no cooldowns. Of course, that would be incredibly unbalanced normally, but to counter it, she has mana and fatigue. Mana is pretty straightforward. You use a skill, it takes mana. You hold R with no element selected to charge mana. You charge mana faster, closer to other players. Fatigue is a bit more complicated, but overall pretty simple once you figure out the mechanics. When you use a move, fatigue goes up. If you keep using the same move without using others, it goes up more. It goes away very quickly though, so it won't be an issue unless you're just spamming a move. But even if you do want to just spam a single move, the fatigue gain can be easily bypassed by using a quick move in between. Thunder Orb is a great move to use that way since it comes out quick and only takes 3 mana to use. If fatigue ends up hitting 100%, you get stunned for a bit and it cancels whatever move you're trying to use while still taking away your mana. Now about the skills and the issues with them. Realistically, in casual gameplay, you wouldn't be using all 16. Hell, even in competitive gameplay you probably wouldn't. Personally, I only use 8, which is Combustion, Flare, Sun Pillar, Ignite, Thunder Orb, Tempest, Gaia Shield, and Earth Wall. That is 4 fire moves, 2 thunder, and 2 earth. I don't ever even use wind. Now, that is because you don't need to use anything else to win. However, I've thought of some ways that could encourage more moves to be used than just Ignite and Tempest. So, to do that, currently you have increased fatigue just on the previous move you used, so let's say you're spamming Ignite, your fatigue will skyrocket. But something that could encourage more moves to be used would have increased fatigue on the previous 3 moves rather than just the previous move, and among your last 3 elements used, the 2 least recent ones would have increased fatigue. So let's say you used Fire, Thunder, and Earth in that order. Fire and Thunder would have increased fatigue, but Earth wouldn't. So let's say, because fuck Wind, you use Earth again, then Fire wouldn't, but Thunder and Earth would. So something like that. This would be good for making Patchouli fun to play both as and against, and potentially balancing her better, because they would force players to play smarter, use more moves, and therefore have to get closer to hit the close ranged moves. The fatigue on regular skills is pretty self-explanatory. You would have to use more moves to negate fatigue so you don't just spam the ranged moves on like Gust or Gaia Shield. Now the other one of fatiguing elements is a lot more complicated, but it's there for a simple reason, to encourage or force players to use more variety in skills. Of course, if they can't use certain elements without getting fatigued, they would have to expand more to make combos and win their fights. This one sounds good on the surface, but looking deeper into it, it may not be that good, but it could always just be in a small testing session and reverted if it's too negative. Though another way to encourage players to play less passively, and not spam range attacks, would simply be to buff the damage on the close range moves while giving some debuff or something to bounce it back out. If you couldn't tell, my main issue with Patchouli is that she's just a range spammer, and that wind is pretty much useless compared to the other elements. When the next public testing session happens, or the game releases, I would really love to see her having a less passive playstyle of just running, using ranged moves, and charging. When I went into rank, the 2-minute time limit forced me to play more aggressively, which felt great and was much funner. It made me wish that I did that more often, and now I hope that the devs do something to encourage that aggressiveness more. Now in the opening, if you watched it, I said, use blood as fuel, trust me. The reasoning for that is because if you play passively and run, you will heal all the damage you take, and have really long fights that you're more likely than not end up winning. Now even with the more aggressive playstyle that I used in ranked, blood as fuel really helped me, since the slow wind up and even the close range move caused me to get damage a lot, so the sub arsenal helped to keep me alive longer than my opponent. Speaking of arsenals, with Patchouli I never used them, nor even the rare arsenals, besides in ranked where I was forced to use them so I can kill them under 2 minutes. So, that's just about all I want to talk about for this video. I love Patchouli, but I do hope the devs can make playing as and against her a better experience. I know the outro gameplay is going, but I do want to show the audio of one of the clips I played a few times, because it's my video, and I found it really funny.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!